All right. So speaking of Fani Willis, right, on the eve of Nathan Wade having to, testify in front of the Georgia State Committee, she sat down and did an interview with Pastor Jamal Bryant on his podcast. It was interesting. Listen, she is well-spoken. She's not stupid. She talks about her father in the beginning. And, listening to this,
let's put it this way. She may not be unintelligent, but she's stupid. One of the definitions of stupidity is acting, speaking, or behaving in a fashion that available intelligence and intellectual capacity would suggest is seriously or significantly inappropriate.
So let's just listen to a couple of minutes. I'm gonna play her talking about her dad, and then of her talking about Trump.
Backwards, probably different than most of your interviews. I was really inspired about you learning about your dad. This is a real warrior. Old school, holding it down. Tell the people about your father and the kind of man that he is.
Oh, wow. So I'm the ultimate daddy's girl.
Okay. All right.
And, I don't let people do a lot of talking about black men.
Yes.
Because I know that there are great black men because I don't need to look any further than my father.
Yes.
So like many children, my parents divorced when I was in about the 4th grade.
Yeah.
But unusual, I went and actually was raised by my father. He was the primary person that raised me. I'd go visit my mother in summers or holidays and certainly love her. But, God knows what you need for your life.
Right.
And so I didn't have necessarily a traditional upbringing, first of all, because I was being raised by a man.
Yes.
My father was a lawyer.
Oh,
and
wow.
He was a lawyer with a small practice and starting his practice. He was a young man at that time.
Yeah.
And so I learned to love the law through watching him and his dedication to the law. But I think the most important thing about my father is from a very young age, he just instilled in me that everyone has a right to dignity. And that when you judge people, you really judge them by the people that they show you that they are, not based on any race. You probably know that my father was a Black Panther.
Yes.
And so he was in the movement. And so I grew up hearing some of those stories about the movement and they touched me.
Yes.
One of the stories that I remember most being a child was that my father got arrested in Louisiana for being an N on a sunny day.
Wow.
And him and the gentleman that he was with were all taken not to jail, but to prison. And he talks about a lot of things in that instance that really kind of framed my life. One of the things he talks about, of course, is the officer who put a gun on his head and asked him why he was smiling. And so, but you counterpose that with the young white male lawyer that came to represent them.
Wow.
And that's ultimately the reason he went to law school. He said when they were calling for lawyers, there were no African-American lawyers.
Yeah.
And so he had already graduated from college at that time, but he certainly had not been to law school. And so that kind of shaped his life of becoming an attorney and then ultimately shaped my life. But in each of those people that were in that such pivotal part of his life, the people that, were there standing by him and those that were against him were of different races. And so it's just a really good lesson.
Yeah.
I think it's a lesson. We're right now in a country that is really trying to divide people based on things like race or gender or religion, ethnicity or sexuality.
Yeah.
And we need to remember that all of these creatures are God's creatures,
That's
that
right.
God made all of us. And if he made us, that means we have value, as you know. And so I try to lead my life like that.
Yes.
I'm human. I got some days where I'm praying like, God, just forgive the thoughts that I had. But for the most part, watching that example of my father, not the words, but the example, it really shaped me.
Anything you want to comment?
Yeah, I went to school with her father, John Floyd, for 8 years. We both attended UCLA Law School. William Clifton, the late judge, and whose wife, Rogery Clifton, is on the Second Circuit Court of Appeals and should have had the nod for the Supreme Court nomination, not the head scratcher, wig scratcher. Curtis Morrison, late of Detroit, Michigan. Let's see, Ronald Ricky Ivy, who heads one of the largest law firms in Los Angeles now, and just got a $27 million settlement against the city of Los Angeles for a client of his. Let's see, a number of people, Veronica Macbeth, who wound up retiring as chief administrative law judge for LA County Superior Court. That's where they tried OJ. We all knew Johnny Cochran, who was an alumnus and from UCLA, and we met up with him about 1966. I don't know about the Panther Party, but Black Student Alliance, Black Student Union, yeah. He gave me a cigar when she was born in 1972, so I think that was her year of birth. He was a down brother.
But you notice how she said that he raised her, but she would go spend the summers with her mom.
By the way, where is Mom? We haven't heard about Mom, so I won't get into that.
But you did a video on her mom with the alleged allegations.
Well, yeah,
that was her mother.
Yeah, so I won't mention that. We'll just let the press go dig. They dig into everything else. But John Floyd was a courageous brother. He is a courageous brother. He used to represent Mandela's interest over in South Africa. Is something he did along with Ted Egan's, who was active in the Black Law Student Association out there in Los Angeles at the time. But he was always there. And I don't care who you are. If you're doing wrong, I'm going to expose you. And it really hurts me to have to say what I have to say about the daughter of somebody I considered for a long time, for more than 50 years, to be a close and personal friend. Now, I just can't get around it because what this person is doing is wrong. And contrast her arrogant behavior on the witness stand in front of the court when this started coming out, in contrast the dignified, appropriate, and courteous behavior of her father. She follows her. Now, watch this. Look, hand on hip, dress upside down, and she's doing this flipping stuff, but her dad showed how it was supposed to be done.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate. Well,
the judge even tells us, said, ma'am, we are trying to decide whether you need to testify. Well, I decided I'm going to testify. And then she got in here and incriminated herself and a lot of other people. She wrecked her own Fifth Amendment protections. And wow, I mean, this is like dumb crook stuff.
Yeah. So in the interview with Jamal Bryant, she started off talking about her dad and her upbringing, solid upbringing, and then she was saying she was setting the narrative to try again to label the Trump administration as racist. Let me start at this time mark here.
And I'm wondering if that's what God's plan is he wants to show you that it's not a political party that's in control. It's not a court that you can rely on. You have got to put your faith and your reliance in him. And in the end, I believe all of this is going to work out for his greater good.
Some of the seems like the ire is intent. Some of the seems like the ire is intent.
Some of the most evil, corrupt people in world history have or relied on protestations that they were following God's will. Now,
Mhm.
What
Right.
is being revealed here is not white racism. It's about the nice, nasty thugism of a spoiled and pampered generation of Negroes who could act black and be led by W.E.B. Du Bois' assertion that the hands of the colored race will be the fate of the colored race will be in the hands of their talented 10th. She illustrates the breakdown of that, where the condemnation of the race is in the hands of the talented 10th, who has used the opportunity that so many have died and suffered for of all ethnicities to facilitate an opportunity to rob the people that ought to be able to trust them, to spread this to the rainbow cult, to co-opt all of this suffering for the purpose of imposing a theological mess on the United States of America and to disrupt this. See, this is what's wrong. These blue folk, she's got on blue, have an opportunity to do what Jackie Robinson did as the first black man to play Major League Baseball, to really show what could be done. This is what the 332nd Airmen did, to really show what black men could do. This is what the 761st Armored Regiment did, battalion did, the second most highly decorated battalion in American military history. What they did. This is what Thurgood Marshall did. This is what Frederick Douglass did. In other words, you got the foot in the door, you kicked it open, you did what you had to do. These characters have used all of that legacy and they have thrown it away because they've just used it as an opportunity to steal, thieve, and spread mistrust and try to say that it's all about racism that they never had much to do with, never had much to suffer from. It was their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents that did. And they want to rely on that legacy to violate the public trust. It's disgraceful. Excuse me for pontificating, but I was there and I resent that this is what we went through,
Mm-hmm. To get this end result.
To get this result, it's an embarrassment. You flat back and gapped, and you played bed wench, and you stole from the people that trusted you to lead them and to protect them from violations of the public peace, dignity, and order, which you have not done, and you have allegedly purloined, stolen money from the people who depended on you to protect them. It's a disgrace that you ought to be ashamed of yourself for violating your legacy. And Brother Floyd, I'm sorry I have to say this about your daughter, but I am compelled. You've known me for 50, 60 years, and you know that's what I've always been about.
All right, let me play this part here.
So
Right. With typos.
Exactly.
Yes.
What I would tell her to do is to I
Yeah.
need somebody to come on and
No
take
time
over.
soon. No time. That was not an announcement, people. That was
to just keep myself reoriented. And I'm wondering if that's what God's plan is he wants to show you that it's not a political party that's in control. It's not a court that you can rely on. You have got to put your faith and your reliance in him. And in the end, I believe all of this is going to work out for his greater good.
It seems like the ire is intensified
you've
for
been relying on all those pulpit pimps to support your game, because are they getting a kickback from it, a cut of the action, or permitted to do some things that don't really, that they don't want to see the light of day?
Articulate black women who are outspoken is taken as an offense by this administration. If
Well, and that's what people don't understand.
yeah,
If you are not doing anything with your life,
yeah.
that's what they want out of you, and you are not a threat.
Mm-hmm.
The threats are those that go and get knowledge and empower themselves and speak up. And that's really what we need our young people to see, because that's what we need them doing. Because I don't know about you, but I'm at some point here, I'm gonna retire.
Yeah.
I need somebody to come on and
No
tell us.
Time out. Bullshit. Excuse me. I am a black man, older than both of you put together. I was with your dad, lady, when he was going through a whole lot of what he was telling you about. And we could also, he's to be found, check with Curtis Marsh about some of your dad's stuff down in, say, Costa Rica, going across a certain bridge in a local bus when the guerrillas stopped it. Okay, he's a brave man.
Mhm.
But I'm not upset about racism. I'm upset about your betrayal and the pulpit pimps that are backing you up. You let us down. We did not hand this over to you to do what you did with it. And we do not belong to this Democratic Party that captured the souls of too many black folks, now Negroes, in 1960 with that Kennedy-Nixon election. We used to be Republicans, and any ethnic group that belongs to a political party, so that party can do no wrong and the other one can do no right, they are being reduced to the level of slaves. They become the property of that party. They become advocates and they become members of an oppressive group and organization that's trying to keep us down. And we see what you and Wade were up to, stealing money. Where is the $10 million that went to Fulton County under your charge? $500,000 to catch up on juvenile prosecutions. $200,000 that was supposed to go for $205,000 was supposed to, $2.5 million that was supposed to go to catching up on sex prosecutions, sex crime prosecutions, and $7 million that was supposed to catch up on the tardy and delinquent prosecutions you're responsible for a whole lot of people that have been locked up in a Fulton County jail that is incompetently run by somebody that's got 3 years prior experience with law enforcement after doing a stint with gay porn. All right, really.
No, that was not an announcement, people. That was not an announcement.
No time soon, but at some point, we need this next generation to step up.
Living what you've lived through over the last year, if I wasn't sitting in this chair and Jasmine Crockett was sitting in this chair, what counsel would you give her?
Oh, I love Jasmine Crockett. I consider her a personal friend.
Yeah.
To keep fighting, to hold your head up, to continue to be everything that God made you to be. I think she's doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
She's getting all the typical insults. You know, we don't have any intelligence.
Right.
We're stupid. We're all of the things that they say while they communicate with a second grade vocabulary.
Right.
So
with typos.
Exactly.
Yes.
What I would tell her to do is to really just to ignore the naysayers and to keep her eye on the prize. She has a heart of service.
Yeah.
And so for her, the prize is to be able to serve the great state of Texas. And I would tell her to just continue to keep that focus. That is what I have to do when I get very frustrated, or when I am hurt, or when I am wondering why am I under attack. You always have to go back to, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
I'm sure, you know, like you just shared with me that you had to travel to work with some other pastors, and that was a day you had to take away from your wife and your family.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your wife, sometimes she's looking at you like, I know you better get home, brother.
Oh, yes.
All of that is good, but I know
yes.
you better get home. But those are sacrifices we make. And it's a sacrifice that she makes, because she knew when she married this man of God that his life meant service for a lot of people.
Yes.
We just, all that are here trying to serve, we just have to remember what was the goal. And the goal is for you to make this community better. And for you, Pastor, it's not just the community where your church sits, but your working the world and trying to make it just a better world for us.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to do it in my small little corner. And I would tell Miss Crockett to just keep your eye on the prize, which is being able to serve the great state of Texas.
Yeah.
Time out. Look. Crockett went to school in Memphis, and I know her connection with the corrupt young Democrats here that's turned into a sexist organization that is specializing in learning how to rip off the public. I have a connection with your legacy, as I have recited. But lady, why couldn't you keep your panties on tight enough so they didn't drop out and show the public what was underneath? Drop off when the public was looking. Why didn't you do that? You were supposed to be responsible. Why didn't you deal with that? And then why are you trying to cover up what you were doing? You know you were trying to rip the people off.
Mm-hmm. All right.
A little bit thrown off not being a woman. That they took as ammunition your dating life that had absolutely nothing to do with the prosecution. Does that make you become more private?
We saw how you used this man to turn in false claims to misappropriate public funds to your advantage. We saw how you got IRS to give you some slack, and you had the money in your cookie jar around your house to pay them off, so you're in trouble with that. We saw the false claims you turned in, the deceit that you passed off upon the people of your state and your county who trusted you in order to turn in an extra amount of cash to your pocket. We saw what looked like money laundering. And you haven't had your day yet. It will come, because the statute of limitations on your criminality, if there is such, has not expired.
That you now just want to stay to yourself, or you like, well, forget it, I'm out here now?
I was always a private person.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it makes me want to stay more private, without getting into all of that.
Yes.
That experience grew me up, but not for the reason probably people think. Both myself and Mr. Wade, sometimes you find that the people that you have made the most sacrifices for, that you have gone out on a limb to try to help, that instead of that help being appreciated, I think a spirit of jealousy forms. Yes. And it is those people that will try to hurt you. I don't expect much from a stranger. But I am sure there are people.
Time out. Are you trying to say that you were going to put this on Wade's head after you did what you did? You slept by your own admission with your predecessor and then turned on him to get to his office. Then you slept with Mr. Wade, and we find out you apparently did that so you could get more of the public funds in your hands. What is, man, this is just a little.
Your journey in life that you have gone through great sacrifice to help. And then they're the ones that will do things to hurt you.
Yes.
They will be dishonest to hurt you. They'll do different things that are hurtful. And so if you ask me about being more private, I had to really fight off not making my circle smaller. And I really had to fight off a spirit of, you know what? I'm done trying to help folks, because when you try to help folks, they do other things. But that's just really not who I am. It's not like just who I am as a person. If I meet you and you say you need something, like I'm holding my head trying to figure out, okay, how can I get it? Like, can I tell them if they go do this class, they'll get here? It's just who I am. I'm going to help people. And so, God had to talk to me though for a minute, it wasn't instant. And there was a time that I was very angry. And really Mr. Wade actually helped me the most with that. Told me, you can't be in the business of revenge. That's for God.
That's right.
Like, what you need to be in is the business of moving forward and accepting your blessings. Because if you are so busy trying to do that, you will miss your own blessings. And I'm in a really great place in life now. I feel very blessed. I think I'm confusing folks. They looking and like they done talked about it and said things, and I'm out here looking good in these streets. So they're gonna have to keep being angry while I keep doing God's work.
With what is happening with the law?
Wait a minute. Preacher, on good report, you don't seem to be aware of, let's say, Leviticus 20:13 and how you respond to your congregation. You're supposed to be the one that admonishes someone and maybe leads somebody to acquire forgiveness, but you're endorsing this. You don't see all of these violations of scripture that this woman that you are sitting here pushing has committed, and then she doesn't seem to get the picture either. I mean, there is so much wrong with this claim of being inspired by the above for doing what you were doing. And by the way, you prosecuted somebody that was trying to protect the people you're supposed to be protecting because he said, find me 11,000 votes. They got to be out there. Now we see that they were a lot more than 11,000 votes. And one of your,
to be exact.
Yeah, one of your colleagues has already pled guilty. So now you want to get mad because somebody you were trying to persecute for trying to protect us, for trying to expose the wrongdoing that you were part of. Now you're trying to sanctimoniously claim that you were being done wrong. You know, what goes around comes around. You're getting a piece of your own sauce mix. Or a spoonful of it.
Ships are being bombed without any due process.
Excuse me.
Most recent.
Excuse me. Fool. We have Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution, Article 6 of the United States Constitution, many treaties, a long history of compliance with the Monroe Doctrine that's 200 plus years old, and we have bad blood between the Venezuelan folk out on the oceans when they, from time to time in the 1880s, pulled over American ships, seized the crew and the cargoes, and in one instance created a national emergency when they took the captain of an American vessel and some of his crew put him on a wall and shot them. And it did give the United States goad to revitalize its Navy and order its first two steam steel warships or iron warships that were seagoing. I think one of them was the cruiser Olympia that figured very heavily in the Spanish-American War over in Manila in the Pacific. But let's forget that. Let's talk about the drugs that were being trafficked, the money that was being raised, the fact that Article 1, Section 8 says it's the duty of the commander-in-chief to pursue, suppress, and eradicate piracy wherever found in the world, which, without declaration of war, is why we have in the Marine Corps him from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli where there was pirate action. Also, Article 1, Section 8 says it's the duty of the commander-in-chief and the armed forces to, quote, enforce the law of nations, unquote. And we have many treaties that declare what the law of nations is relative to what happened or has been happening recently. Article 6 of the Constitution says ratified treaties will become part of the supreme law of the land. There are three categories: the Constitution, ratified treaties, and those laws that are passed to carry out the first two.
The Kennedy Center is now renamed the Trump Kennedy Center.
I heard that just today.
Yes, which is supposed to happen through Congress, and it has not taken place. I want to know, how confident are you in this next election cycle?
Oh, I'm pretty confident. In these midterms you're speaking of?
No, the 28.
Oh, you're speaking of 28.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm not as confident about then because
Yes.
I just had this conversation today. Is there is so much time between now and when we are there to elect our next president.
Yes.
I'm trying to wonder what the country is going to be and what's going to be left of it. If people do not start standing up, and I mean immediately,
Yes.
I don't know where we are going to be as a country.
Mhm.
And so I can't talk to you about the presidential election. I think we are just too far in the future.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what level of destruction is going to have happened by that time. I do think that in this next election cycle that we will get some candidates with some character that will come up and do their part. But it can't all rely on the pastors and the political figures.
That's true.
We're going to need everybody at the table saying that this is wrong and that they are going to participate in the process. Because if not, we're going to all find ourselves in a world of trouble.
Yeah. I feel that, and I'm really taunted by it because there's so much that is open-ended that you're not really seeing addressed. From the legal side, what would you say, talking to a pastor, should be articulated to the congregation, to the larger community? We should be focused as our priority issue in this moment?
I think that we have to be focused at the real basic character issues. I'm going to tell you something that has offended me terribly. And I think if you're human, it should offend you. It might have hit me harder because it's been my business. But we had this beautiful family, a husband and a wife, in their home. Their throats slit by their child.
Wow.
And the leader of the free world mocked that man.
She's talking about the actor Rob Reiner and his wife killed by their schizophrenic son.
Yeah, I'm aware of
that
what
is inhumane.
she's alluding to.
And there's silence.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine the pain that you would be going through if you lost your mother and your father to your sibling?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have this family that is suffering right now. And there's like a vacuum of character of people just saying, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. As Americans, we don't operate in that way.
Yes.
I'll tell you something else that bothered me. I don't know anyone from Somalia. I don't think I've ever met anyone from Somalia.
Yeah.
But I went and researched and said, how many Somalians are there on the planet? It was 18 million. To call 18 million of God's children garbage?
That's bold.
It's bold.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I have a fear of God. I'm not going to call 18 million human beings he created garbage. But I do not understand why we don't have people from every walk of life, every race saying, this is below really the standard for humanity, let alone the standard of a leader. And so we can get into all those other things, building a ballroom or putting your face on a coin. But there's some basic humanity that is missing. But we watched it go away. When it was okay to laugh about sexually assaulting a woman, we watched it go away. When it was okay to, just really behave in where you're teasing someone that's special needs.
Could we have a time out here?
That's enough with that.
Look,
she's basically
she's going on
the narrative. He's a racist. He's inhumane. He's basically the devil.
Let me say this very briefly. I had 3 personal acquaintances who were on one of the airplanes that crashed into the Twin Towers on 9/11. It's personal to me. I had a very good friend who was supposed to be there, but fortuitously, an airplane he was supposed to fly in on early that morning was late, and he didn't make it. And his family, fortunately, got the call at the last moment not to go to their condo in the tower. I'm talking about Wesley Snipes, if you want a name on that one. All right. And I'm talking about all of the many people I know who are dead and in the ground to try to get things straightened out so somebody that looked like her could be where she is. And I'm listening to what's going on. I'm watching all of the preachers who don't preach sermons, and I'm watching the church become an instrument to push a poison political party that was created in the second decade of the 19th century to protect, promote, and spread slavery, who started a civil war to maintain slavery, who came up with Jim Crow and segregation to maintain the effects of slavery in an unofficial status, who opposed everything that was trying to end segregation, who sat there and locked up so many black folk in the South and made life so miserable, who set up with condolences not given, with support given, to have sundown towns where it was hazardous for black folk to be. I'm listening to somebody who is an owned creature of slavery into a party that is not working for King Cotton anymore, but for Tranny Queen Rainbow, and has tried to make the race that she represents helpless, dependent, confused, and disorderly, and it's thrived on death and theft on the city streets in order to maintain an advantage so they can stay where they are for personal reasons. And she even got into character. How dare she? This is not the type of thing we need to have going on in our republic, where these exemplars of poor character, poor choices, and weakness, and yielding to the temptation to exercise the opportunity that people who trusted you gave you to protect them, not to protect them, but to steal from them and to corrupt them.
Right. I mean, listen, she's trying to save face. She's trying to create a different narrative of herself, and how she projects herself as being God-fearing, law-abiding citizen who really just want to do good by the people in her position. But it's just too much mess that she caused, her office caused, and no victories. Not only did she, drop the ball on a Trump case and his co-defendants, but her office dropped the ball on a YSL case. So, it's just embarrassment after embarrassment, incompetence. You can't win these major cases, and then people are questioning, why are you even bringing it to the forefront? But on top,
wait a minute, YSL, RICO, she blew that.
I said that, yeah.
The Trump thing, RICO, she blew that. She got one RICO thing she got against some school teachers because they were trying to improve the educational circumstances for the students. Wow. Well, and then she wants to claim she's God-fearing. Okay, I don't get all upset about people's sexual activities, but don't claim God made you do it.
So even if but no, it's not even that. It's just the fact that it has nothing to do with your religion. It does not. It has nothing to do with who you're sleeping with. It's just that you brought your bedroom to work and you're not winning any cases. So, and you created this mess. You created this mess. That is why the FBI seized and had the search warrant for the Fulton County election commissions. This is why you have to pay over $10 million to Trump and his co-defendants, legal fees. You're bankrupting not just your office, but you're helping to bankrupt the city of Atlanta and Fulton County. So it's
Well
just,
said.
yeah. All right. So,
And wait a minute. And you're resisting the state legislature demanding to know what happened to $10 million they can prove went to your control to deal with crime in your district, and you can't say what happened to it.
right.